Okay, good morning. My name is Anna Stormziad, coordinator for Safe Kids Chatham and Safe Kids Orange, and I am super excited to have two Safe Kids members with us here today. George, you want to introduce yourself first?
Hi, all, and thanks for coming. My name is George Gregor Holt. I am the coordinator for Chatham Drug Free, but I'm also on the Safe Kids Coalition and on the Firearm Safe Storage Subcommittee.
Awesome. And Sam.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bradburn. I'm a police officer here at Pittsburgh Police Department, and I've been here 10 years and took over the community policing officer role about 3 years ago. Been bouncing back and forth between patrol when needed, just due to staffing sort of shortages, but I've had a fun time being involved with Safe Kids during this time and part of the firearm safety storage and just trying to help out where we can.
And I see lots of names I recognize. So great to see you all. We are here this morning with Chatham County Department of Social Services. And do we have any foster parents that are joining us this morning or anyone else?
Don't think so.
Okay. And if they join, that's great.
Well, I'm
Well,
with the Guardian Ad Litem program, Anna.
hey, Nikki, good to see you. Yes,
You too.
wonderful, wonderful. So we're so excited to have you. For those who are familiar with Safe Kids, we are known for our community car seat program, but Safe Kids does a whole lot more. We have a focus on firearm safety, which is today. We have a focus on water safety, which is revving up. And we will come back and work with you all in a month, I believe. We have a focus on car seat and child passenger safety, but also new driver safety, firearm safety, home safety, which includes pediatric falls. So, and then we collaborate a lot with Chatham Drug Free and the overdose prevention efforts through the public health department around medicine safety and overdose, as well as anything around mental health and suicide prevention as well. So think of us for any of those categories, and we work really closely with you all and Public Health Department in Chatham. So we're very excited to join you on your staff meeting. I know it's early on a Monday morning, but we're gonna make this fun. I am gonna share my screen. And we are going to, all the buttons are always in the wrong spot. Can you all see a screen that says safe firearm storage?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. So some of the stuff we're going to be talking about this morning, it's obviously, firearm violence, gun violence is a very sensitive topic. We'll be focusing some of our discussions this morning on suicide prevention and just the role between safe firearm storage and suicide prevention. So just as a disclaimer, it is a serious topic. A little bit, we're jumping into it on Monday morning, but super important more and more, as you all know. So welcome. We're very glad to have you all join us here today. So glad we have our other Safe Kids members. Sam, firearm expert, super excited to have him on. We can use him as a resource. We're going to start just with some true and false, some quiz questions to see all what you know already about firearm violence. And firearm violence comes in so many different fashions, obviously. We're not just talking about accidental, we're talking about suicide, we're talking about homicide, unfortunately. So, all really serious topics. And you can just shout out, we don't have to raise hands or anything, but who would say true or false? Gunshot wounds are one of the top injuries seen down the road at UNC Main Hospital, our level 1 facility here in Chapel Hill, where I am employed through.
True.
It is true. Little old Chapel Hill, not that big of a town. It has crept up. So it's actually the number 3 spot for adults, and it's in the top 10 now for pediatric injuries. So, and remember, these are individuals with injuries. These are not fatalities. So, I was shocked to see it move into the top 10 the last 5 years or so. We think Durham, we think Mecklenburg, right? But nope, it's here. The level 1 trauma center attracts a pretty big swath, kind of the whole Piedmont down all the way through Cumberland. So we're just seeing more and more gunshot injuries. That is true. Here's a quiz. I feel like you all know this because we talk about this a lot in Chatham. What percentage of North Carolina high school students recently reported it would take them less than 1 hour to not only get, but also be ready to fire a loaded gun without having parent or other adults' permission? Any guesses?
I'm going to say it's something crazy high, like 76,
I was thinking 80.
75, 76. Yeah.
I'm going to go with,
too, about 75, 70%.
yep. So if you think about all the students, those who don't have firearms in their home, it's about 1/3, Chatham's a little bit higher, of all students that could, within 1 hour, find a firearm in their home, load it, and have it ready without a permission. Of those, though, who already have access to a firearm in their home or their family vehicle, it's like a little bit around 80%, a little bit less that within 1 hour. So it's a huge public safety concern, public health concern. It is a suicide prevention concern. There's a lot of students, and that's just high school. Middle school reported something very similar. There's a lot of students who have access to firearms that we assume would have to go through some sort of steps to be able to use it, and they don't. They are able to access it and have it be loaded very quickly. So it's a lot. The accessibility is a big issue when we're talking about all these things we want to prevent. Good job. True or false? Suicide is the #1 reason for firearm-related fatalities.
False. False. Yeah.
It is actually true, which is crazy because we think homicide, right? We think accidental discharge. But firearm deaths hover around 51% in North Carolina. After that, 46% for homicide. And this was data that was collected before COVID, so we can only assume that those numbers have gone up. So it's crazy. We I think we're trained with what we see in the media and what we see in our entertainment that homicide is, but it's not. It's actually suicide. The good news is we know we can do some things to prevent it. That's the good news. What's interesting is we spend a lot of time on accidental discharge, especially around kids. And thankfully, that is not a huge issue. It happens for sure, but it is a rare event. The good news is what we do to prevent a child from stumbling upon or using a firearm accidentally can also prevent suicide, can also prevent homicide as well. So sometimes, when we're working with families, our way in is through, hey, you have small kids, or you just had a child, or you have, 8-year-olds that are coming to your house to visit. You can use that as your way in, but really we're thinking about the whole family, not just kids. True or false? Firearms account for over half of all the suicide deaths we see in North Carolina and the United States.
True.
You're starting to catch on to my strategy. Yeah, it's true. The nature of firearms, right? A lot of folks, you don't get a second chance. It is, we call it a lethal means. It is the same as a lethal dose of medicine, whether it be intentional or unintentional. So, but firearms are still #1. There are people who do survive, but normally you don't get a second chance, unfortunately. So that's why if we can prevent firearm related suicides, we can take half of the suicides that happen and prevent those. So it's a huge critical part of this. What percentage of kids that live in homes with guns know where they're stored, you think? Kids are smart.
80%.
They say it's around 75%, but I think it's even higher than that, probably, right? So they've done some focus groups and looked and talked to kids and done some really good research on this, and the majority of kids know where their guns are stored. So even when us adults think we're being really savvy, the kids know where the guns are. And they might even know where the ammunition is stored. So it's really critical that we do something to prevent their access. True or false? Over 50% of North Carolina adults who do own a firearm report that they store their firearm loaded and unlocked. What do y'all think?
True.
It is true. Yep. This was from the National Behavior Risk Factor Survey, the BRFSS, which is this equivalent to the YRBS for adults. And they do this in North Carolina for adults and youth all the time on a regular basis. This was the 2021 and 2022 study. So they are physically calling through different means to get to adults. There was about a 10% no response rate. So this number could be higher as well. But there's 52% that reported that they keep their firearm loaded and unlocked. Of them, 37% had a young person under the age of 17. So again, a huge amount of access. This is self-report. So I would assume it might be a little bit higher because there might be some stigma that people didn't want to report on or just didn't want to report on firearms in general. What percentage of adolescent firearm suicides involve a gun belonging to a family member?
I think that's high,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
82%. Yeah. It's so terrible. It's just incredibly tragic. So we know that young people have access to firearms in their home. It's potentially loaded and unlocked. It is accessible, and then they're not going elsewhere to get that firearm. They're just going to wherever their family stores it. So incredibly sad, but something that we can work on. Research shows that suicide is often impulsive. The time from thinking about it to an actual attempt is usually about 10 minutes. Y'all think that's true or false?
I think that's false.
Anyone else?
I think that's false as well.
It is actually true. However, caveats, right? The research shows that usually it's not. There are exceptions to this rule, obviously. I know of one myself. But the majority of folks, it is something that triggers it. And they're like, I don't want to keep going. It's not that I don't want to live. It's I don't want to keep going and doing whatever it is and feeling this pain. So usually it's very impulsive. So we know that if we can put up some things along the way to disrupt that critical period, right? Maybe it's a little bit longer for other people. Maybe it's a half an hour, but it's not usually, again, there's exceptions, not usually something that like someone plans many days in advance and then like no matter what is going to derail. There are exceptions, obviously. So we think about the majority, especially young people who are incredibly impulsive. So we know that if we can slow down the process when it comes to accessing lethal means like firearms or medicines, if we can store it properly, which is what we're talking about today, if store it properly slows them down by a few minutes and somebody calls, somebody texts, somebody stops by the house, anything disrupts that mindset that's happening, we know we can go on to prevent suicides, at least with that situation. So it's something to consider. I think most of us are brought up with the thought that there's nothing we can do around suicide, that it's just inevitable. But research has shown, talking to survivors, talking to family members, doing a lot of research, that there are some things we can do. What age do you think children are strong enough to pull the trigger of a handgun?
4.
Even lower.
2, 3.
Yeah, 3. And then I think there's some 2-year-olds have demonstrated that they're able to. Sam has shared with us, and other police officers have shared with us the real, very unfortunate nature of this is that just little hands, right? Their thumbs are more developed than anything else. So they tend to, when they're playing with it, hold it with a gun facing them. So if something happens, it could be very tragic. So this is for anybody with small kids, especially. This is not something that we need to start thinking about at the age of 5. We need to start thinking about it the day they're born, essentially, what we're going to do to make sure that the kids in our neighborhood, our house, our family are safe, because it's a very young age. And I can personally say I just witnessed 2 5-year-olds the other day go from playing with play guns, right? Nerf guns, to before I could even get off the floor, getting up, running around to the parents' bedroom where the safe was and start trying to get in to get the real guns. Let me show you the real guns. I mean, it happened so quickly. Gave me a heart attack. But thank goodness there was things there, right? There was a huge barrier in place and he couldn't figure out that code. The thing's too big, he can't move it. So they are very smart, very, very, very smart, fast, and unfortunately able to hold a handgun at a very young age. So Sam, I'm going to ask you real quick just to talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of thefts from vehicles.
Yeah, so this is something that I see pretty regularly in Pittsburgh. One of just the biggest crimes that have plagued us since I've been here is thefts from motor vehicles in general. Um, Being in a town that's smaller, still somewhat in a rural area, there's a lot of people who, well, I don't lock my cars. I've always left my car unlocked, and because of that mindset, people take advantage of it. They know people think like that. So we would see groups come from bigger cities, Durham, Raleigh, Fayetteville, and they just come to a neighborhood here in Pittsburgh, whichever one it is, and they just start checking for unlocked doors. And that'll happen maybe 3, 4, 5 times a year. It seemed to pick up during COVID. A little bit down maybe now, but it's just something they would do in the middle of the night to try to mainly get guns, but money, drugs, other stuff, any kind of valuable. So there is a surprising amount of guns that we've seen missing because people will leave their vehicles unlocked. They'll leave their guns in their center console, even on their seat, in the back seat, and it just keeps happening. And people leave their keys in their ignition, leave the car, get the car stolen. So one thing we've tried to do is really kind of educate people, let people know that, hey, this is happening. Lock your cars. You'll see a lot of police departments share on their social media the 9 p.m. routine. Before you go to bed, before you're done, go outside, lock your car. And actually, in the last round of ones that I'm aware of, they didn't check for unlocked doors. The group came to town, they went to an apartment complex, and they just picked pickup trucks, start breaking windows of those pickup trucks looking for guns. And they got some. Those were locked, but the guns weren't. The guns were still unsecured somewhere in the vehicle. So something that we would really love to see come down. I know I don't know how the numbers in front of me, but there was an article I think on WRL that some ridiculously high percentage, it was like 80 or 90% of the guns recovered at crime scenes in Durham were stolen out of vehicles. And I don't have that number, but it was high. It was like at least 80. And that's I'm sure a lot of those came from guns stolen in any of the suburbs around Durham, Raleigh area, because that's what we see here. So, in this picture, you see this guy, he's got a little gun safe, small one, and then right below it to the right, you can actually see there's a little cable. And this is something I used to do before well, anytime I'd carry a gun with me that I couldn't concealed carry, um, when you left your car, you could put it in a safe, or you could leave it in your car if you weren't taking it with you. But if you do that, you want to make sure no one can get it. So that has a cable lock on it, little wire, and he has it probably around the seat, the frame of his seat, some sturdy part of the car. That way, if someone comes in, they can't take it out unless they got something big to cut it. And most of the time, people are stealing from cars. They don't have cable locks with them. So you really want to try to secure it some way in your car.
All
just
right,
because it
we
is a
will work
trend
it out the
that
time that you're ready,
people
okay? Okay,
are
thank you.
aware. So, um,
Wonderful. Yeah.
there
And
are other options.
keeping it out of sight, at least blocking. And they do make some um, lock boxes, storage that are just for cars too. Yep.
Yep,
But
yep. Some specific vehicles that they'll like fit inside of your glove box, or they'll mount. You can mount them to different spots, and then they use combination, or they use like a thumbprint. But the one he's holding right there, those type you can get for under $50, $30, depending on where it's from. So those are really affordable, and they're pretty effective.
wonderful. And something else we want you all to share working with
Um,
families as well. Sam, you're going to cover the safe storage
yes,
locks. Yeah.
yes. So no, this we don't like go and charge this every day, but here at the police department, but it's something that is there for when a bad situation does happen. If a student brings a gun to school, if there is an accidental discharge at home, usually when something terrible, there's that something that a parent will or guardian will get charged with. Um, and it's not always the gun goes off in school. You can see lots of situations where a student just brought a gun to school. And then that's when this charge can take effect. And um, it doesn't prevent everything, but it is something to encourage guardians, parents to uh, secure those firearms because they can be liable for not securing them.
Similar
Um,
to, it's been in the
uh,
news a lot too with the Oxford, Michigan and the Georgia case where there was a school shooting. This is the type of statute that was used to charge the parents. So they were the adults in the home. They did not make sure that their firearm that they had was safely secure, and then therefore when the minor went and used it to harm other people or themselves, they were then charged. So North Carolina has kind of middle of the road laws on this. It's not like extremely hard. It's not like you could just be charged just for unsafe storage per se. It's when something happens, like Sam was saying. But it is something that I don't think most adults realize, that they would be the ones held liable if that firearm in their home, in their possession, is used, and they did not do anything to try to prevent it. So thank you, Sam. Anything else you want to add?
not the slide, no.
Awesome. Okay. Do you want to cover the next one
All
too,
right,
Sam?
now, yeah, sure. So keeping firearms secure. This is probably more geared to your house. I mean, along with your car, but just looking down the bullet points, have a method for effectively locking your firearm. Unload it when it's not in use. Lock your firearm after every use. So going back to that, there's a lot of people that take their guns hunting, rifles, shotguns, or they'll go to the range, and especially with hunting, a lot of hunters could go hunting and they don't shoot. They don't end up shooting a deer. They don't get something. A lot of times they'll get down there to that deer stand, just throw the gun in the truck, and they get home. Well, hopefully not leaving the truck, but they can put it in the safe. They can put it, um, however they store it at home, and it's still loaded because they're thinking I'm going to use it tomorrow when I go hunting, or use it next week. And then all of a sudden the season's over and it's in the
Hmm.
summer or next year, and they've got a loaded firearm, and it's been so long that they forgot about it. I've seen that happen. I know that happened to
Hmm.
friends. They take a gun out and it was just loaded from last season. They didn't realize it,
Wow.
and they put a hole through their ceiling. So that's something to keep in mind for anybody that's a hunter, or you take your gun out to use it or potentially use it. It could stay loaded if you don't pay attention. Um, Going down, store ammunition or lock your firearm after every use, and then store ammunition in a separate location when possible. That's going back to what Anna said earlier about the 10 minutes, that general 10 minutes. If it's in a different location, it can interrupt someone's process if they had their idea thinking of suicide. Or for a child, if they get a gun, having it in a separate place. They might get the ammunition, but they don't have a gun, or vice versa, might get the gun and don't have ammunition. Moving down, keep the lock combination or location of a secret
Just
from
like kids
children or
know where
others
your
who should
firearm is, they know your combinations and they know your birth dates. So you got to be real savvy.
use locks both at home and in your vehicle. So a lot of people aren't aware that you can secure in a vehicle, or when they take if they're using their gun from self-defense, they have it on them and they're like, well, it's on me, I don't need to secure it. But then all of a sudden they go to the bank, they go somewhere where they can't take it inside, and then they have to leave it in their car. So they
Ooh,
just
yeah.
something like they don't think about. It's not that often, um, and that could end up being a bad situation if they do just leave it in their car.
Good point. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. So the three things, the three messages that we have for you to share with families is unload, lock, store separately. So unload every time, just get in that habit. Lock every time, and if you can, store the ammunition separately. Now, not everyone's going to do all these three steps. If you think of these three steps as like the gold standard, right? Best practice, or on a spectrum. Like this is the best thing if you do this every single time and you just get in the habit, and this is the best way to store a firearm and keep your family and those around you safe. However, and you think the other end, right? Completely unloaded, but not locked. If you can move someone along that spectrum, right? If you can say, okay, the reason why I have this firearm is for self-protection. I want to be able to use it quickly for protection. Maybe I'm going to safely secure it in a box, but I'm going to keep it loaded. Sure. Okay. You've done something, right? It is not accessible without getting a key or a combo, and we'll go through the different options here in a second. But it's still, if once I get in it, the ammunition is already in it. I don't have to worry about that. Wherever you can move, wherever you can kind of change someone's behavior and move them a little bit towards safety, that's awesome. We know people aren't always going to do all three things. These are all your different options that are out there. Cheap things. So you never ever in this area need to pay for a cable gun lock. You all host cable gun locks at your front desk and have access to them for to provide to families that you work with. When you run low, you go through us. We get our cable gun locks right now through the Durham Veterans Affairs. They supply all the free cable gun locks throughout the entire region. We hope this will continue. So you have cable gun locks always free of charge. From there up, you get the trigger lock, which is going to be less than $20, if that. Some people like those, some people don't, but it does prevent someone from utilizing it. Then you move to lock boxes. Lock boxes are generally pretty affordable, $20, $25, depending on the type. You'll see here in blue, they store the ammunition with it, right? So not exactly 100% everything, but they're doing something. Same thing here with this gun case. So we're going up in price a little bit. Nice thing about lock boxes and gun locks, lock boxes and lock gun cases is that they're very mobile, right? So if it's somebody who wants to be taking it with them, if they're already transporting it, these are easy, safe ways to do that. Again, this person has their ammunition stored in there. A lot of times they have those spaces for it, but at least they are storing this box. And then all the way up to, or this firearm, I should say, then all the way up to gun safes, right? Last November, I was at some sporting store, I can't remember, Dunham's, and around the holidays, they had them for less than $200 that would store up to 4 or 5 firearms, all the way up to thousands of dollars. So there are some affordable options out there. And you'll see on this one's going to have what we call the biometrics. So nowadays, we really can balance that quick access with safety with biometrics. So there's ones that you can use with your thumbprint or your fingerprint. So only you can access that gun case or that gun safe. You can have a digital code plus thumbprint plus fingerprint. You can have a digital code plus key. The biometrics are obviously a little bit more expensive, but if for a family that is trying to balance quick access for personal protection with protecting their family from any unauthorized users, including a thief or someone breaking in, right? This is kind of the best of both worlds. So we know, before I get to this too, I want to say the other option as well is things like transferring firearms, right? So we don't, around us in Chatham County and Orange as well, local law enforcement, they're not able to take a firearm and hold on to it during a crisis and then return it. It's just too complicated. They can take a firearm, right, Sam, and they will get rid of it for you, but they cannot return it.
We typically don't accept, like, if someone just comes by and tries to drop off guns, we don't typically do that.
Yeah. So
But
that
if
is
that's
kind
what
of
you're
what
asking.
we've learned that. So I think maybe back years past, it used to be that way. But if someone just wants to take a firearm and have it off site for a while, say I have a teenager in the house who's going through a crisis. My husband is going through a crisis. I'm going to have my grandkids coming to stay with me for the summer, and I don't want to have firearms on the premise at all. Let's just get them out of here, right? Taking it to gun shops. A lot of times gun shops will hold on to them and then return them to you for a small fee. More and more gun shops are doing this for free or very small fee for veterans, which is amazing. You can just get rid of it through law enforcement altogether. You can ask family or friend just to hold on to it for a while. So, we're going through some things right now. I'd just like to have you take these guns out of the home, just get them out of there until the crisis is over. It's a hard conversation with somebody, but maybe, okay, let's take the ammunition away, right? We'll keep the guns, but let's just take the ammunition off site. Let's have our neighbors hold on to that for a while, or let's just keep the ammunition, but we'll have the guns off for a little bit. That is also something we rarely don't think about as an option when we are worried about the safety of our loved ones. The biggest argument around or the need, I would say, what people say, I would like to have my firearm readily accessible and loaded at all times in case there is an issue, in case there's a home intruder, for instance. It's for personal protection, right? So if you have a firearm that's not quickly accessible, this does not satisfy that need, right? So that is why we find such a large percentage of firearms that are loaded and unlocked, because people are wanting to have it like that. We know it's very important to know that a couple of things, right? When we go through hunter safety, firearm safety, safe storage is number one. There is no hunter safety, gun safety class that does not address safe firearm storage. So when you hear folks say, well, I taught my kids never to touch the gun, they know how to handle it. If safe storage is not part of that, then you're missing part of the class, right? The safe storage is cornerstone to that. You're protecting from outside as well as inside. Never know what's going on in people's minds, what's happening. So we need to just assume that we need to have these things in place and not, unfortunately, find out on the flip side. If you have something like a biometric that has a fingerprint or even just a combination code, you can see on the screen here, this one's got all three. So it's got the biometric on the far left. It has the code. So it could be, whatever, some number that only you know, or perhaps your partner, whoever else you want to have access to it. And then they have a backup here as a key in case for some reason you forget all those. So there's various ways, but pop it open, ready to go within seconds. So you can have both. Go ahead,
I
Sam.
see that is the mindset. Big mindset. Someone is like, if I have it locked up, there's no way I'm gonna be able to use it. I'm not gonna be able to get it in time. And their goal is to keep themselves safe, to protect people. And I really just think it's a balance. And a lot of any kind of crime prevention class I've gone to, when it's securing, a property, a home, there's sometimes so much that you can do that it becomes unsafe. You add too big of a fence to your house, then someone, once they get inside, they're completely secluded and no one can actually see that someone's trying to break into your house, or if you have too many bushes, too many trees. And then kind of like this, people think that they think I get too much security on my guns, I'm not going to be able to get to them. But on the flip side, you have no security. Well, then what's your goal? To keep your family safe. You're not going to be keeping people safe because your guns are loaded and around. And well, you want to protect people. You're not protecting your family. That's your initial goal as well, because their gun could just be picked up. So yeah, just trying to. There's a big mindset with people, like almost a hurdle to get over, that if I put something on my gun, it's going to automatically be accessible. And then it's not the case anymore. And just with technology like the one you're looking at, a couple seconds you can get into it, and but it keeps those who shouldn't be in it, keeps them out of it as well. And then things like that, like I have one of those that uses just the code. that also is cable locked to
Mm.
something in my house. So people are like, well, this is a small thing and I've got $1,000 gun in it. Um, you can cable lock that to your bed, and someone either have to come and break your bed or they take your whole bed out of your house if they want to steal a gun. So there's just a lot of different ways to secure it in that type of setting.
Thanks, Sam. That's yep, awesome. I'm gonna switch real good. We talk a lot about cable gun locks, so I'm gonna hopefully this is the video and you'll be able to see, and then we'll finish up here. So I'm just gonna switch real quick, see if this works. Do y'all see the YouTube channel right now?
Try to double click.
Try one more time. Now do you see it?
Nope.
Hmm. What do you all see?
Start screen sharing, double click to enter full screen mode.
Let's get rid of this too. Double click to enter. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. Otherwise, we'll just send you all the link. This is always, and I lost you all. So we're going to I'm gonna send you all that link. We're gonna keep on going. Do y'all see back to the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Had an internet issue there. Apologize. So I will send you all that link as well. It's very quick. It just demonstrates how to use a cable gun lock. And that is through NC Safe. Let me try this.
Oh, yeah, just press it now.
I wonder. Let me know. Shout out if you could hear it, though.
We can't hear it.
It is. Here we go. Being very slow.
Hello, my name is Andrew Allmark. I'm a sergeant with the North Carolina Highway Patrol assigned to the Firearms Training Division. Today we're going to be going over safe storage for all firearms and ammunition. Securing your revolver. Again, I want to do my visual and physical check. I slide the latch forward to take the cylinder out. Sir. And physically check. Is our training camera.
The volume's gone, so I'll kind of narrate a little bit if that's fine. Pretty much, he's put it through the cylinder, so no, it can't go into the barrels. It won't close, so your bullet won't be able to go in the gun. That's how you do a revolver.
Yeah, Sam. And do you want to with the other types? I think our internet's going in and out. I will send you guys this video. What I learned, because this is go ahead and with the other types.
So pretty much anything to block the gun for going into battery, which means loading the bullet in and being ready to shoot. So that last slide you saw the gun was open. You can take that cable lock and run it through your magazine well out the top, and then it can't close. Even if you had your ammo, even if you had your magazine full, you wouldn't be able to get in there because it would be blocked by that cable lock. And that can be done different ways. You can do it with rifles to get through there. Through a shotgun, you just go through the receiver. Almost every gun has some kind of loop where you can block the function of the firearm from loading and then just charging just by blocking it. So on a range, sometimes you just have these little plastic things that you put in your barrel. And that way, when the range officer is coming by, they can see that's there. They know there's no accidental discharges because everything's blocked. So that doesn't have any kind of lock, but if someone's going down to check targets, to set up new targets, they want everybody to have those in there. So that's the same kind of deal, except this is now locked. So unless you've got that key, you can't operate the firearm.
And NC Safe, which I'll share this resource for you in a second, um, has several YouTube videos with all different types: rifle, a handgun, semi-automatic. So it goes through different types. So you can see, you could share that with the family, and we'll give you some QRs that you can share very easily with all the different types and how to use a cable gun lock with those. But basically, what Sam said, you put it into where the bullets would go, for layman terms. Awesome. Thank you, Sam. The American Pediatric Academy of Pediatrics has actually come up pretty strong around firearm violence because we're just seeing such an increase the last decade or so. So they have a campaign about encouraging families to ask about how families store firearms, if they have a firearm, and how they're stored before a play date or going over for the holidays. I think everything is easier via text message. Wish I'd had that when I was a teenager. So this is just one of the campaigns. Just like you would ask, like, do you have dogs? Do your kids have any allergies? Is there anything I should know? Do they take any medications? Asking about firearms, we want to make it more comfortable and more the norm, not something that's taboo and we don't want to talk about. So this is called the Just Ask campaign, about and just encouraging families to really talk about it a little bit more openly, especially when visiting other households. This is especially important in the holidays. We do see a surge around the holidays because people get firearms as presents around the holidays, and everyone's in new environments. So, yep. So here's some really great resources for you all. This is the NC Safe campaign. You all see this on your screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. NC Safe is a statewide campaign that came through from the governor's office 2 years ago now. And it was a joint collaboration between public safety, public health weighed in, and they have really great videos. They have really good firearm owner centric materials, I would say. Like they did a lot of work with firearm owners in North Carolina, adults, and have some really great stuff out there. So they have handouts so you can get for free or print off. They have videos of how to use cable gun locks and other types. They're trying to expand it to include more things besides just cable gun locks, because we know that's not everyone's preference. So stay tuned for that. So that's a QR code for that campaign. Again, it's completely apolitical. Right down the road, it is all about safety and protecting, mainly a lot of it focused on children. Be Smart for Kids is entirely focused on children. That's a national campaign. The 988 National Crisis Line, we plug that with every single thing we do, call or text. And then everything we've gone through today is accessible through the QR code there for our website. So Tar Heel Trauma is our website that we maintain through the Level 1 Trauma Center at UNC, where the injury prevention position is headquartered. And so we have a whole page devoted to gun safety. So all these videos, all these resources are also there as well. As we finish up, we would love if you guys can take a screenshot and complete, I think it's 5 questions, if that, very quickly. Just give us some feedback. We are very fortunate that we are able to do what needs to be taught and done in the community. We're not grant funded in that way. So we can adapt this presentation as needed, especially for different groups. We are always open to having more groups participate in this. So if you could fill that out and give any feedback, that would be super. That also captures your attendance as well. So I'm going to leave it up on the screen for just 1 second so everyone can take a screenshot. And if you happen to be on that apparatus as well, I will make sure to, when I send Angela some of these resources afterwards, I'll make sure to include the QR code. And I'm gonna move. Everyone got that? Move just to our last slide. This is my contact information. If anyone wants to do follow-up, has an organization this would be good to also work with, is interested more on the firearm safety. We are always looking for people. Oh, we're almost done. Yeah, we're always looking for more people to participate in Safe Kids. We have an official firearm safety team in Safe Kids orange. So we're excited about that. But both groups work on safe firearm storage and firearm safety. And so if you're interested in joining our efforts in either county, please reach out to me. We would love to have more, you don't have to come to our meetings all the month because everyone has 1,000 meetings, but if you know, hey, I really would love to work with this group and on an ongoing basis, or this project on an ongoing basis, let me know. We would love to have you. We're fun too. So thank you all very much.
And I just want to thank you for coming today. And I just want to do a few follow-up